Welcome back to the Vanderbilt Political Review podcast. Today I have two special guests. So usually we have one, but today we have two. I have the founders of the newest chapter of BridgeUSA here at Vanderbilt's campus, sophomores Tubi Ganguly and Bao Li. We sat down and we talked about the goals of Bridge as well as the political divide that exists on college campuses and what can be done about it, and specifically how Bridge can play a crucial role in bridging said divide. Get it, Bridge? Anyway, without further ado, the episode today. But gentlemen, it's good to have you on. So Tubi and then Bao.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. You guys are the founders, if I'm not mistaken, of the Bridge Club here at Vanderbilt University. Still getting it into the works. One or both of you guys, if you just want to share the general mission of Bridge, then we can get more into the questions surrounding discourse on campuses. But
yeah, of course. So BridgeUSA is a national organization that was founded in 2016. So BridgeUSA really focused on three pillars that we're trying to spread around campus right now. So viewpoint diversity, constructive dialogues, and solution-oriented politics. So basically, our mission is really bringing people of different political backgrounds, different political ideologies coming together in a joint dialogue, because I think dialogue is a form of learning. So right now, we are a multi-partisan organization, so we welcome all perspective. We're not nonpartisan, so we encourage both Democrats, Republicans, and everyone who have different political views to come together to understand more and building dialogue. So that's essentially what Bridge is.
Okay.
And a little background on why it started. So it started at UC Berkeley around 2016 when they had a lot of political violence due to speakers that they had on campus. So the founder, Manu Meal, created their first chapter to expose people to all different viewpoints in hopes of building tolerance, not necessarily to create like debate groups, but to just give exposure to the entire political spectrum to college campuses.
Right.
And now I think we're on 80 campuses across America.
Wow. Okay, so if I'm getting this right, Bridge is a part of like a national group that you guys are bringing here.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And you said 2016 at Berkeley?
Yes,
Okay.
right around.
Was it moving from like West Coast to East Coast sort of thing? Or was it just like sporadic across the country in terms of its the chartering of different groups at different schools?
So a lot of the first few chapters started in California, and then after that, it was pretty much everywhere.
Okay, cool. Have you guys had an opportunity to meet other Bridge groups or people from Bridge groups across the country, or even the founder or anything like that?
So it's our first year, so we have not met with a lot of other founders in Bridge USA chapters across the nations, but our CDC, which is our point of contact, was the president of Berkeley chapter. And then there's also another opportunity coming up, which is the Bridge USA Summit in the summer, which is in Minneapolis, I think.
Okay.
So there's opportunity.
So that'll be your chance really to meet other Bridge people from across the country if you guys go to that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Though we haven't physically met them, we have like emailed back and forth with some of the other like SEC chapters to brainstorm what they've done in the past, because they're older chapters than us.
Right. And what inspired one or both of you guys to pursue this program?
So I saw they were trying to create a chapter in Vanderbilt over last summer, and I really thought that exposure to political ideas was something that a lot of college students need. A lot of people grew up in communities that were very polarized or had one political opinion. So not necessarily, lots of debate groups exist on campus, and a lot of discussion groups exist, but those discussion groups tend to have very like similar ideologies. So I wanted to create an outlet for people to, I guess, just get exposure to the other side in hopes of building more tolerance and building better discourse in other areas.
Okay. Yeah.
And for me, last fall, I took a class with Dr. Dana Nelson. She is the professor of American Studies. And the course is called Why Argue Politics, and really emphasize on the ideas of why reaching out to the other side, dialogue, is important for a deliberate democracy, because it's allow us to understand different perspective and better decision making. So for me, I see a lot of people when it comes to politics, it's such a personal thing, because it involves our culture, our identities, our culture and background. So when it comes to having different point of view, it becomes a very polarized topic and could be offending to have a different point of view. So I want people to have a platform where they can share their perspective and realize that no one really wants to go to the poll to vote for someone who is going to create harm or destroy the country. They vote for someone who is essentially is going to help their lives and better their communities and surroundings. So I just want to let people know that, having platforms to understand more and seeing that all perspectives are worthy of respect.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I remember you guys were saying to me while we were setting all this up and we were talking off camera was how you didn't envision Bridge to be a debating community, as it were. We have a lot of that on campus. I think you guys are kind of alluding to that. I've been part of debates. I've seen debates on campus. But you guys, again, were saying that you did not have debating as part of the central vision for Bridge, and it's more discussion-based. Could you guys probably go into a little more detail as to what you mean by it being discussion-based? And I guess what you're thinking to do or what principles Bridge already has such that it will prevent, I would say, almost the inevitable, because, you're talking about these very polarized things. It tends to be, if you have like people of different views, it kind of tends to devolve or evolve, depending on how you look at it, into a debate. So I guess it's a two-part question. What does a discussion nature of Bridge look like, and then how or what principles are in place, or what do you guys envision to prevent it from just becoming your run-of-the-mill debate between two sides?
So Bao used a really important word earlier. Dialogue is what we're trying to go for. Okay. And I'd say the difference between the dialogue and the debates we see on campus is our goal is less to convince other people of our opinion and more so to learn, specifically to learn about other people's point of views. So the way we're going to try to do that is we're not necessarily opposed to debates in our meeting. Mm-hmm. There's going to be arguments. We have people who believe very different things. But we have moderated discussions, and we're going to try to keep everything peaceful and make sure we're not necessarily closed-minded. We're going to try to guide the discussions in a way where we're just trying to explain ourselves. We're going to make sure we're listening, asking questions, and that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I guess, unless I'm not sure if you want to jump in on that. Or
Of course.
Yeah.
So we mentioned like dialogue is a lot of things that we focus on, but I want to talk about how our organization really focus on sort of like how disagreements is a powerful tool when we correctly employ correctly. So when it comes to debate, there's always you ultimately want to win the debate. There's a side that want to win the debate, and that's the correct side. But what BridgeUSA is trying to do is that we're trying to sort of like practice intellectual humility, where not all sides correct, and that it's easy to point out the logs in your eyes, but not our own eyes. Mm-hmm. So it's really pointing out our differences, our rights and our wrongs, and ultimately compromise in a solution that is more open-minded and value for our perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
And this might seem like a very obvious question, right? Or I guess a question that has a very obvious answer, but I want to hear it from you guys. What is the goal of Bridge? And obvious insofar as obviously like to make dialogue, as you guys just said, and to bring people together. Like we speak on all these lofty, sometimes vague terms sometimes, but I guess the question is like more concretely, like let's say within a year of Bridge being on campus, assuming all goes well, what kind of tangible things, or at least more, relatively more tangible effects do you wish to see on this campus or within the communities on this campus from the Bridge initiatives?
Right. So I guess the broad, more cliche goal would be to build tolerance. We want people to be able to go into discussions that are elsewhere on campus and be open-minded. And I guess the way that actually looks for us is to build exposure, as I said earlier. A lot of people are coming in with very little political exposure, as we saw in our previous discussion. And we just want to expose them to different viewpoints. And I think that exposure is the first step at building tolerance.
Yeah, and for me, I really want our campus to sort of change our culture on the way we talk about politics, and not just, villainizing the other sides as, as sort of this bad person, but realizing our opponents can be our collaborators, and sort of providing Vanderbilt students this tool that they can go on and in the workplace and afterwards sort of this, perspective of exchanging dialogues and understanding different sides and seeing different perspectives, and just changing our understanding of politics as just being this very personal topic, also something that can be really fun to talk about and also informative, and also using dialogue as a platform for learning.
Yeah. I suppose my one thought with this, I have many, but the one that's over all of them, I guess is more of a concern, is like, this goal might have been easier back in, let's just pick a time like even early 2000s, right? When the issues that were contentious on campuses and just in general in the public were I guess, less polarizing, but also just less binary. Obviously, like we have issues like like transgenderism. We have issues dealing with even like around the person of Trump, right? That are very divisive, almost to an ultimate degree, right? Like for example, I always use the example of transgenderism because it's a perfect example of how like to compromise, like what does compromising on such an issue look like, right? Because like either you claim that it is a possibility for one to transition, or you don't. It's not really like you can kind of it doesn't really make sense. So my point is like today, and I think you guys would agree with me that so many of our issues are very, very, very fundamental, right? They're not like the first principles that we hold in common are becoming like that list is becoming lesser and lesser as time goes on. So I guess the question is, how do you do dialogue in a time in an age where those first principles that we all hold in common are becoming fewer and fewer and fewer, and we are not only divided as because humans have always been divided, but we're divided in an ever increasing fundamental way. And I think it speaks to the importance of it, but I think it also of an initiative like Bridge. But I think it also makes your jobs a lot harder. Just the general responses to all that I put out there. Yeah.
So one thing that I think Bridge discussion really emphasizes is humanizing the other side. So I think no, I kind of have to disagree with your point that we have a lot of differences, but I think we also have a lot of commonalities that we tend to forget because our society is now so polarized that we focus on the thing that makes the headline, the things that make us different, but ignoring the things that make us similar, makes us human, makes us really friends. So I think what Bridge is trying to do is we don't have to come to a solutions of like different solutions and politics and different legislations or a different thing, but what Bridge is trying to do is making people understand each other more, making people realize that, oh, my perspective have reasonings to it, my perspective have stories to it, and realizing that, oh, wow, your opponent has a lot of reasons behind that, and they're not crazy, and essentially their perspective is ultimately worth of respect. So just putting friendship on campus, understandings more on campus, and humanizing the other side as not a villain, but more of a person who is trying to fight for their issues as well. Yeah.
So I'm going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle than Bao. And I agree with you that our job is probably a lot harder now than it would have been in 2020. And I think that actually speaks to the need for Bridge. The more complicated political opinions become, the more complicated political discourse becomes, the easier it becomes to say villainize the other side. You simplify their opinion and say, how could anyone believe that? That's ridiculous. And then you just think they're objectively wrong. But what exposure does is it shows you that nuance. It shows you that people have reasons for thinking what they think. It shows you what exactly they think, and it'll make you more tolerant, as I've said before. So I think the more nuanced political discourse gets, the more in need students are to understand that nuance.
Right. I guess my next question, probably one I should have asked a long time ago, is what, down to the specifics, like what would a Bridge dialogue look like? Like I walk into the room with other people, like what happens?
Yeah, so we had our first actual discussion about 2 weeks ago. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to have a very casual conversation that's moderated, but it doesn't feel very structured. So what an ideal discussion would look like is you have a bunch of people from either side, it's not sitting apart from each other, but all sitting together, just talking about the topic. We'll always come with a list of questions to make sure the conversation moves forward. We'll make sure to step in every time we think it's getting a little too heated and try to manage that, and just try to have a very civil conversations where people take turns explaining their sides, asking questions to each other. We'll at a very low level, small debates, but not necessarily the focus of it, but overall just a discussion group, it should look like.
Okay. So very, very low stakes is the idea.
Yes. Try to make everyone feel comfortable. Because what we noticed was a lot of people who are interested in this are actually people who haven't had much experience talking about politics or debating before. So we're trying to make everyone feel comfortable in that environment.
Right.
Yeah. So Tubi hits a lot of points. So really just trying to get people to bond together in debating about politics. That doesn't have to be very crazy and very polarized of just shouting at each other. It's more of like a bonding experience of realizing, oh, wait, you're right about that perspective as well. And really having people understanding about different perspective, exposing them to different ideas. So I think that's really just a bonding event of people talking about politics is what we're trying to get.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very, very noble goal. And I like the idea of it being a lot more casual, because one of the biggest barriers I've had, I've seen in my experience debating, is just the number one, you're in front of an audience of hundreds of people sometimes, or at least 100 people, right? That's also very intimidating. But also, you have to prepare. I imagine, given what you guys are saying, but please correct me if I'm wrong, you don't expect the participants to come, maybe to think about things, but not to have done immense research or anything like that. It's just kind of walk in, say what you know. If you don't know, you just sit and listen, or just come up with your own thoughts on the spot as they come to you. Is that right? Is that generally the spirit of it?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, dialogue is a form of learning, so we want people to come and actually learn, and not just preparing a whole thing to lecture other people,
Right.
but actually come there and learn different perspectives, different ideas.
Do people know the topics beforehand?
Yes.
Okay, they do. So they have a chance to kind of sit with it and kind of mull it over in their head.
Yes.
Before they go and just kind of speak off the cuff. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah.
But on what you said, so I was very surprised that when we were marketing for this, a lot of people asked if it was okay if they just come and listen. And that seemed to be what a lot of people wanted to do, just hear other people's ideas, even though they didn't necessarily want to participate in the discussion themselves. And I think that's great. The whole point of the group is exposure. So if you just want to come and listen, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, you said you had your first meeting 2 weeks ago, right?
Right about, yeah.
Right about. Okay. So how many people did you get around about?
Probably around a little under 10, not including
Okay.
our
That's
executive
for our
members.
first meeting. Yeah. It's still, and what is your hope in terms of, let's say a year from now, everything goes well. How big are you hoping these groups to be?
So a discussion probably shouldn't have more than 10 to 15 people
Right.
each to be cohesive. So I guess our goal would be to just increase the frequency of those discussions, to be able to have maybe 10 to 15 people show up every week rather than once every 3 weeks, which is what we're currently planning on.
Okay. Yeah. So is it basically just you get a room in Buttrick or whatever, and you just sit around in a circle?
Pretty much exactly.
Really? Okay. Just
Yeah.
that's how I'm envisioning it. And you said you don't divide the room by affiliation with one side of an issue or the other, right? It's
Not at all.
Do you guys make a point to left person, right person, right person, or just naturally where people sit? It's a very specific question, but I think I'm just out of curiosity. I'm just curious.
So that's a good question. Last time it just happened naturally.
Okay.
But if we end up seeing that people end up congregating with people who agree with them, we might try to come up with a mechanism to avoid that. But for now, I think natural works fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, I think a lot of people who come to our events are also people who are curious about politics. They're not really sure about which way that they lean on the political spectrum. So I think, having people just sitting around together is also a great way that we're trying to have for our events.
Yeah.
So at our last event, it was we had a few people who it seemed like they came to an opinion throughout the discussion. Mm-hmm. So that's another great thing about this, that they don't necessarily have an opinion coming in, but they might have a little more thoughts on it walking out.
Yeah. And I guess I'll close with this question. I feel like I already asked it before in some way, but I'll ask it again, given everything we discussed. Let's say we're sitting right here on March, I don't know what today's date is. Let's say today's March 10th, right? Or March, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Yeah, but 2026 is the point. A year from now, that's all I was trying to say. Where do you hope Bridge is? And part one, part two, to anybody watching, what is your guys' message to them?
I guess in 1 year we want. That's a tough question.
I just kind of threw it at you guys. Yeah, but just.
I guess we
whatever
want
you
to
think.
keep consistency here, because if someone wants to get exposure to politics, sitting at one discussion, that could be more than enough for them to gain an interest, to be more confident in talking. So even if you don't show up frequently, I think it's something that everyone should try at least once, a discussion about major issues for the world, issues that a lot of people care about. So I want the club to be open to the entire campus for as long as the club exists. for new members to show up at every club meeting, because I think that first meeting is a lot more valuable than any other meeting.
Right.
To the first time you have that dialogue, the first time you have a discussion with people who disagree with you, the first time you're exposed to opinions you've never heard.
So quick interjection here, just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So you guys aren't necessarily looking for a consistent body of people who come, per se. You guys are more interested in seeing a variety of people.
Yeah, so if people want to come consistently, that's
Right,
great.
of
That could be
course,
great
yeah.
for them. But we want to open this club up to as many people as possible to give the experience to as many people as possible.
Okay, yeah.
And I think 1 year from now, I really want to see people getting excited about clubs, about BridgeUSA events, sort of saying, I heard this thing about on the news. I wonder what discussions Bridge will have this week. I'm so excited to go into Bridge discussions. They're more a fun and casual way that people wanting to go to our events, and also maybe making it more accessible to a lot of people, maybe having our podcasts that discuss about different politics, having people of different sides just joining dialogues and different people disagreeing, and having the Vanderbilt student community just watch that and leave their comments on the and their thoughts below, and just think making Bridge a really accessible way to a lot of people to just learn about politics and talk about politics.
Yeah. And I guess I'll close with telling anyone who's watching to look out for Bridge events on campus. Are you guys on AnchorLink already?
Yes, we are.
We are.
There you go. So go on AnchorLink and see what they're up to. Do you guys also have social media?
Yes,
right,
shameless plug, Instagram at bridge.vanderbilt.
There we go. That's perfect. Well, thank you, both of you guys, for coming on. And it's just before spring break, so both of you guys, at time of recording, of course, so both of you guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful spring break. Thank you guys again.
Thank you. Thank you
too.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.